Where's that clip about Chinese engineering? I want to find it. I found it.
I used to make millions of virtual reality headsets in China. I've been to Shenzhen a bunch of times. If you want to get stuff done and you want to build things, it is the place to be. And they don't get 50% more for their dollar. They get like 10x for their dollar. Things that here would take you $1 million, you do there for $50,000, $100,000, like a development program. Labor is not even the cheap thing.
Contra made an unlisted video on liberalism. Would you care to watch it later? No, that's like, she and that concept are lame. Liberals have nothing novel to say, certainly not about themselves, because they're incapable of acknowledging that they have not only failed at the moment, but have no meaningful solutions to the problems that we face ourselves in. Like, what, liberalism? Liberalism, really? What is it, a eulogy? No, we're past that point.
That's an outdated concept. They think of China's just having really cheap labor. They automate most of these things. They automate most of the labor-intensive production. Their people are just genuinely extremely good. They have the world's best battery engineers. They have many of the world's best metallurgists, many of the world's best optical engineers. American companies have been hollowed out because our companies and our degrees, which feed these companies, because the companies feed.
I'm not watching that dumb shit she's made complaining about online politics, her whole personality. All liberals have gravitated towards the same kind of like outrage, smarmy, devil's advocate react content, I think, because they don't really have any solutions to the problems we face. It's the reason why there are so many liberals on Twitter right now who are whining about people's unspecificity when they make populist arguments against data centers or flock cameras or whatever. You know, they would rather nitpick solutions than provide any themselves because they know they don't have any. It's why every time any momentum actually starts to build against the Republican Party, it gets shot down by the DNC. Abdullah Sayed, Bernie Sanders, no, buddy. What we really need is Mecca Clinton, you know? We need, I don't know. We need a 50th Schumer turn. No. What the DNC really needs is to stay the course and focus on kitchen table issues. They know they're not trying to win. They're just trying to hamstring our efforts to win because they hate you, they hate America, and they hate, well, they hate themselves.
These colleges, a whole bill of goods on what they should be teaching people. Basically, we're not teaching engineers how to be engineers anymore. We're not teaching designers how to actually design things to be manufactured.
To be fair, Abdullah Sayed's a liberal too. Yeah, but like, liberal parentheses pause. People who call themselves liberals are anything but. Neoliberals are not liberals. They literally don't believe in liberal values. If you start from liberal values, you know, John Locke, Thomas Paine, Adam Smith, whatever, and work backwards from those principles, you have a long road to walk before you even begin to approximate the behavior of your average liberal DNC shill.
We're teaching them how to be high-level design shops that put together design packages that get sent to the real engineers in China, and they actually figure out how to do the work. This is true even with our mechanical engineering programs, even with our electrical engineering programs. People are turning into architecture astronauts. They pick components and they put them in a nominal layout, but the real work of how am I actually going to put this together? How am I going to build a manufacturing line to make this thing? How am I going to need to figure out how to do the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different revisions of this board to pass radio emissions and interference standards? That's all done in China. So they are the real engineers. We've hollowed out our real engineering capacity. And like, I don't want to put down Apple too much. Apple used to have to figure out how to actually make their stuff. These days, most of the really hard work is being done by Chinese engineers.
Sure, I literally have friends who work in engineering, and it's the same story for essentially all of them, you know? The Americans with the degrees are basically there to sit down, do no work, and approve design processes that get worked out and actually like done and implemented by Chinese engineers. We've hollowed out the entire manufacturing core and shipped it overseas. Even the, you know, the professionals that we have over here are basically just there to check boxes and you know, cross T's.
I just want to bear down on this because you're making what strikes me as a fascinating point here. All your points are fascinating. But what you're saying is you cannot divorce innovation.
Similar to the animation pipeline for US animation studios? Yeah, great way of putting it. You have American animators, but for the most part, when you see animation done on a Western show, it's done in Korea. Yeah, we have middle managers, exactly. The capital and the middle managers who enforce the will of capital are here in America because capital is American. But the actual work is done by other people. The same thing happened to CGI. The computer graphics industry failed to unionize in America because it was formed after Reagan. Whereas most of the rest of Hollywood unionized decades and decades ago, you know, back in the 30s or 40s. And as a consequence, CGI work is now outsourced. It's done in, Canada if you're lucky, but oftentimes, anywhere else, wherever labor is cheap.
From the act of manufacturing. You make the stuff, that's where the innovation takes place.
The act of manufacturing your feedstocks as well. You need to make, if you don't control your raw materials, if you don't control, if you are...
I don't think Korean or Japanese artists are unionized, though. Right. That's why we hire them.
Dependent on your largest strategic adversary for everything that underpins your quality of life, you are fundamentally not in control of your own destiny. And if you would have written our current situation in a Cold War novel, imagine when Reagan was still in office. Imagine if there had been a novel comes out, like a Tom Clancy novel, and he says, in just 20 years, all of the Pentagon's most secure command and control terminals, information displays, and every other electronic device will be made by the Soviet Union under Kremlin's supervision, and we're going to buy them by the millions. It would have been unthinkable. It wouldn't.
Ivan Drago GigaChad Soviet edit .gif. Chud point at the end there, but kind of a testament to how hollowed out we are.
It's the most humbling thing I've ever seen. 70% of all EVs in the world, electric vehicles, are made in China. They have far superior...
This guy is a chud? Okay. The point he was making there was still correct.
In-vehicle technology. Huawei and Xiaomi are in every car. They have facial recognition.
Cell phone technology.
Yes.
Connected to their cell phones.
Yes. You get in, you don't have to pair your phone. Automatically, your whole digital life is mirrored in the car. You have an AI companion that you can talk to, chat GPT equivalent in China. All the automatic payment is already there. You can buy movie tickets. It has facial recognition, so it knows who's in which seat and which media you like.
Okay, well, I don't like any of that.
Wait, why don't Ford cars have that? Would you need to deal with Apple or?
Yeah, because Google and Apple decided not to go in the car business, and even beyond that, their cost.
But Google and Apple also have their shit made in China. This is a bad take. That is a bad take. Vosh, Tim Cook on China. How many on Chinas are we getting? Is this an older clip? Tim Cook on China? I bet it is. Yep, this is an older clip. But that's okay. We'll watch it anyway.
There's a confusion
I'll keep buying
about
that
China. And let me at least give you my opinion. The popular conception is that companies come to China because of low labor cost. I'm not sure what part of China they go to, but the truth is China...
This is really old. I understand that. It's just worth remembering that if you're an American, if you talk about America as though it's the center for innovation, development, manufacturing, or basically anything else tied to the real economy, you are basically like a Brit in the 1980s acting like it's the 1930s. You know what I mean? Like you like from the outside, it looks absolutely delusional. Some British guy, a bunch of hooligans and football thugs are walking around in Harrington jackets, skinhead, switchblade knives, and you've got some boomer Brit who was 3 years old during the Blitz talking about how Britain's the center of the world. You sound like that, basically.
Stopped being the low labor cost country many years ago. And that is not the reason to come to China from a supply point of view. The reason is because of the skill and the quantity of skill in one location and the type of skill it is. Like the products we do require really advanced tooling. And the precision that you have to have in tooling and working with the materials that we do are state of the art.
Tim Cook tried many times to bring manufacturing back to the U.S. He failed over and over again due to U.S. policy. Yeah, of course. Because at the end of the day, again, like the point here is to hollow everything out to capital. The investment that China's made in domestic manufacturing has been to the benefit of them, both for like capitalistic and national security purposes. But the goal is to turn, the United States into a vassalage for oligarchs to rape children in. So we're not getting that.
And the tooling skill is very deep here. In the U.S., you could have a meeting of tooling engineers, and I'm not sure we could fill the room. In China, you could fill multiple football fields. It's that vocational expertise is very deep, very, very deep here. And I give the education system a lot of credit for continuing to push on that even when others were de-emphasizing vocational. Now I think many countries in the world have woke up and said, you know, this is a key thing and we've got to correct that. But China called that right from the beginning.
Fascinating stuff. Well, that's what happens when you don't over-financialize a country. Don't worry, China will get there eventually. Do you think America should embrace a more corporatist model for China? I don't know what you're referring to. You'd have to be more specific. America isn't going to embrace anything because the people in charge have no idea how to fix the problems we have, and there might not be any fixing them anyway.